So, The Mandalorian is good. Hey guys, so I know this is a really late review for Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, but I saw it really close to when it came out, basically when it came out, so I could have reviewed it then, but I wanted to wait for Max to see it because he was supposed to see it on Boxing Day, but when Boxing Day came, he got the flu, so then he couldn't even go see the movie, so then I was like, oh, I guess I gotta review this by myself, and a bunch of stuff happened, but now I'm here to finally review this movie. So in Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker, the surviving resistance faces the First Order once more as Rey, Finn, and Poe Dameron's journey continues. With the power and knowledge of generations behind them, the final battle commences. So as you probably already know, this is the final Skywalker movie, and usually the last movie in a really good series should not leave a bad taste in your mouth. Now, apparently not a lot of people were excited for this movie because I guess people just don't get very excited about Star Wars anymore. But I was still really excited. I will always remain a Star Wars fan, and the fandom of Star Wars has gotten really toxic, as you probably already know, and it's just a bunch of annoying BS, and I wish it would end, but it won't. And, you know, a lot of unnecessary hate happens. I mean, I understand if you watched this movie and you didn't like it, but before the movie even came out, people were hating on it, and it wasn't even out yet, and no one had a chance to see it yet, and that stuff can be really annoying. But like I said, I was really excited for this movie. It's a Star Wars movie, and I'll always be excited for Star Wars. This Tomatometer came out, it was like in the 50s, and that's when I was like, oh no. You know, critics have been wrong in the past, and you know, there's all this stuff about critics. I actually really enjoyed The Last Jedi, so I don't have a problem with that 90% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And you know, the audience score and the critic score, interestingly, were like completely flipped, and they were completely opposite from The Last Jedi. The critic score was rotten for this movie and good for The Last Jedi, and the audience score was rotten for The Last Jedi and good for this movie. So, you know, well, I didn't know what to believe. And then I went and saw it, and, you know, I saw it. Let's start with the positives first. There is a lot to like in this movie. The performances in this movie from everybody were really good. I mean, everyone did a great job with what they had. Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Adam Driver. There was some dramatic moments that I thought really worked. The visuals in this movie are obviously going to be fantastic. It looks amazing, and the action in this movie is also really fun for the most part. And I would say what they did with Kylo Ren, I liked quite a bit for the most part, except for a couple things, but he was really good, and he is, if you have watched my podcast with Max over on his channel, The Graphic Loop, he is in my top 10 favorite villains of all time. So what they did with him for the most part I liked. And the movie was thoroughly entertaining from start to finish. I wasn't ever really bored, but I was bothered. So let's get into my negatives with this movie. Now, I don't think this is a bad film, and I don't think it's a good one either. As soon as I walked out of The Rise of Skywalker and I came home and I sat down, I didn't even know what to think. I had no idea whether I liked it or not, and I haven't been this divided on a movie in a long time, in many years, and maybe like ever. Because I was just like, I don't know. There was so much I really liked about it, and there was so much I really didn't like about it, and it was just, and you've probably heard this a billion times, but when I say mixed feelings like everyone else, I mean mixed feelings. Like, I had no idea what to think. I had to really think about it, and I kind of came to the conclusion that it's, you know, it's not good, it's not bad, it's just very disappointing. First off, you've probably heard this a billion times, but the movie is super messy. I mean, it's all over the place. It feels like 3 movies crammed into one. I feel like even if they made just 2 movies out of this, it would have been fine, but it was just all over the place, and the fact that they jumped from one thing to another so quickly made it really hard for me to care about certain reveals and twists that occurred throughout this. I was like, oh, I guess that's a thing, but okay, sure, move on to the next thing. And they did let a few moments linger on, and that was the stuff I really liked. There was one moment in particular that almost made me cry because they took their time with that scene, and it was a really heartfelt scene that I thought was probably one of the most memorable in Star Wars history, and it was just a character moment. And I was like, wow, okay, that was really powerful. I wish we got some more stuff like that. I also forgot to mention the music in this movie. You can't really go wrong with John Williams, but he's amazing. There was also just a lot of things that didn't make sense to me in this movie. The movie really does expect you to kind of take a leap of faith with a lot of things they do, and I just couldn't. I would also say, like, the whole end part of the movie, I hated. I absolutely hated. Maybe, like, the very last scene was fine, but just the whole final battle and how it's resolved and what they do with it near the end of that battle, I was just like, what? And that kind of goes back to that idea of so much happening at once, and gosh, so disappointing. It's really hard to talk about this movie without spoiling anything, and I won't spoil anything, but yeah, it was very disappointing for me, as I've said a billion trillion times, but you know, just, it was. But I can understand people who love this movie and people who hate this movie. Like I said, I'm very middle of the road, so I've had people talk to me with both opinions, and I can understand that completely. I mean, go see this movie if you're a Star Wars fan. If you're a Star Wars fan, you should see this movie just to formulate your own opinion, and you might love it. I personally love The Force Awakens, and I really do like The Last Jedi, but this movie makes the trilogy kind of confusing as to why they set up certain things and why certain things are there. Yeah, so overall, Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is a very disappointing conclusion to the Skywalker series. It has a lot of good moments in it, and there is a lot to like in it, and it was entertaining from start to finish, but there was a lot that bothered me, and I'm very mixed on it, and watching it again, I'll probably be just as disappointed, if not more. Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is okay, and I'm going to give it a C. So, I do want to do my top 10 best movies of 2019 list soon. However, I do want to see Uncut Gems in 1917, but where I live, those movies come out in January. So, that is kind of tough. But I will still count them as 2019 movies just because in Canada, as a whole, the country where I live, it did come out in 2019. Just where I live, it is not out yet, which kind of sucks because I really want to see those movies, but I want to see those, and then I will do my top 10 movies of 2019 in January with Max, so stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share. I'd really appreciate it if you did, and as always, have a great day. Peace out.